Members of the media and also our colleagues from UJ who are here. And once again, thank you so much for being here. And I think, as you can see, you made a request that when our team comes back, can we do something special for them? And I think this is something that's going to be very special and that we're doing. So, VC, I'm not going to do myself ceremonies because I'm part of the production team. Anything happens, a little rush in there, but then I'm going to over to Prof here, who's going to run the program. And once again, I apologize from Prof, and she is on her way, just running from another meeting, which she said she's going to try her little best to make sure that she's here. Thank you, VC, and I can hand over to Prof, that's going to run our program.
Thank you so much, and thank you, VC. We do know how hectic your time schedule is, but colleagues, I also won't take that long because I'm sure you would want to hear from the people that were on the ground. As you may know, I'm the head of Department for Emergency Medical Care in the Faculty of Health Sciences at the UJ. I would just like to say that this is an extremely proud moment for me. You know, this university is a university of so many things and so many aspects. But one of the things that we really are driving, and we've always done it, but it's a societal impact. You know, you can be a university and you can have your degrees and your ceremonies and that, but in the end, what does the university mean for people, for citizens of the country, for the community? So this is a wonderful way of giving back to the community. You would see we're in the rescue centre, which is newly established, launched in October, and the first on the continent that prepares people to do rescues in very difficult, challenging circumstances. And here we are a couple of months later, and our team of rescuers, staff members have been deployed, and they went to Mozambique for the flooding that occurred. The team were actually on standby. Many people say, oh, were you not in Mpedi? But the team were on standby for Mpedi and our provinces. But there were enough resources in place, so they were notified that they weren't needed at that time, and then they were made available through our partner Rescue South Africa. They were made available to assist in our neighbouring country. So the nice thing about this is that not only are we contributing and saving lives, but we are also bringing learning back. Those experiences that Xavier and Connor had, they will bring back to this university and to our students, into our classrooms. And although we can simulate and we have a magnificent first-class facility, nothing really is the same as the real world. So Connor and Xavier, welcome back safely. I really am pleased you came back safely. And I will not say any more. Maybe what I will do now is hand over to our Vice-Chancellor for some remarks.
Thank you very much, Craig. The Vice-Chancellor speaks, you know, all the job has been done. And that was just tongue-in-cheek comment. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. I prepared some notes so that I don't talk the whole day. I'm a lawyer. Lawyers like talking, you know, so let me stick to my script. Today we find ourselves addressing issues that weigh heavily on our hearts and minds. Issues, ladies and gentlemen, that are becoming increasingly urgent in our world. Global warming, shifting weather patterns, and the rising frequency of natural disasters. This, ladies and gentlemen, challenge not just our environment, but the very fabric of our communities. Recent floods in South Africa and Mozambique have brought this reality closer to home, reminding us of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of nature. As we reflect on these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, let us take a moment to recognize and express our deep gratitude to the courageous team of the rescue specialists who traveled to Mozambique. Their selfless commitment to saving lives amid chaos is a powerful testament to human resilience and compassion. We stand in solidarity with the families and friends of those affected by this disaster, holding them in our thoughts and prayers as they navigate this unimaginable loss. At the heart of our gathering today is a commitment, ladies and gentlemen, a commitment that the University of Johannesburg makes, not just in words, but through action. We are dedicated to ensuring that the rescue center serves as more than just a facility, and this is what we said last year when we launched this facility. It is a beacon of hope and a demonstration of how higher education institutions can respond to community needs. Craig already talked about societal impact, which is what we are all about as the University of Johannesburg. We say everything we do must have a positive impact on the society. Our work here, ladies and gentlemen, reflects our belief that we can foster sustainability and create a positive societal impact. Together, we can equip future leaders with the knowledge and skills they need to tackle these pressing issues head-on. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility to embrace this challenge, to collaborate, and to inspire change. Let us move forward with determination, united in our mission to uplift our communities and address the critical needs of our time. Together, ladies and gentlemen, we can make a difference. And with those few words, I want to say we are grateful for this partnership that we have with Rescue South Africa. And we invite many more people who are like-minded, that share our mission and vision to come and partner with us so that we can go out there and make a difference. As I always say, a university today that is proud of being, that ivory tower that is standing there at the top of mountain saying, look at us, we are standing up there alone and we are for the elite, we don't work with communities. Does not deserve the name university. Universities today, they work with ordinary people, they partner with like-minded people and go out there and help ordinary people and make a difference. So thank you very much, University of South Africa. Colleagues, thank you so much. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. And to mention the partnering with like-minded people, VC, we're also very happy to have with us Aiden Justice, who is the CEO of Rescue South Africa, and I would actually like to have him say a few words. Our deployment was under the umbrella of Rescue South Africa, and they really do wonderful work as an NGO and a volunteer organization, not just with rescue, but also in many other areas of helping communities, preparing them, and giving the awareness that we need around these situations. Would you like to say a few words?
Professor Lambert, thank you very much. Vice-Chancellor, thank you very much for having us here. And to the University of Johannesburg, thank you for your partnership. I think this relationship is fundamental to the way that we're moving forward. And the reason that is because the only way we're going to make a difference is through education. And that's at the very heart of what a university is. The ethos and the way that the University of Johannesburg go about their business, the way that they invest in the people that they're going to be educating, the center is testament to that, is key to where we are going to be going. And the reason that I say that is we have to start impacting the way that these systems affect our communities. The only way that we're going to do that is to educate from an entry level right in the communities all the way through to the next professionals of tomorrow, the EMC students or BTech individuals that will leave the university, as well as the service members on the front line on a daily basis. That includes your firemen, that includes your SAPS members, that includes your lifeguards. We have to educate and we have to equip them. The only way that we're going to do that is through real life experience, where Mr. Hartnady and Mr. Miller have been. They've experienced it firsthand. They bring those experiences back. They educate those service members how to use the rotary ring facilities that you have in this facility. How do you get onto that facility safely? How do you get off that facility safely? How do you cooperate with other agencies, which happens on a daily basis, whether that's fire and SAPS working together or private entities, as we're starting to see in our country. So this is just the start. There's lots of exciting things to come for those communities I'm talking about. We need to make a difference in their lives, and this is just the start. Thank you.
then I think as the program rightly moves towards, they always say, get the message from the horse's mouth. Not that our rescue people look like horses, but I would like to actually give to share anything really, some of your experiences, the value you felt you made, and the value for you in being in that situation. Can we start with you, Conor?
Thanks, Prof. Lambert and Prof. Mpedi. Obviously, firstly, thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to go. Thank you to Rescue South Africa for always partnering and opening that door. I think our relationship is probably now 10, 15 years old. So we want to continue with that. I think my first kind of engagement with Rescue South Africa was in 2010 when I went to Haiti for the earthquake, and in 2011 for the tsunami in Japan. And I think over time I've seen the organization grow. But more importantly is what I've experienced. And every time you do something and you get to kind of, you can only gauge it on where you've been and where you've come from. And if I look at what we achieved during this deployment, to give an idea, we deployed on Wednesday last week and we arrived back on Sunday. Remembering that we only went there for the search and rescue components of this specific incident. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that we will not do anything. If they wanted us to dig toilets, we would do that. But it was a small mission group, 6 people, significant experience amongst all of the people in the team, and those experiences mean that it's taken time. And where I've come from, as I alluded to earlier, I've come to this point and I've gone, we really did well here. We moved over 450 people, and that's in that short period, and that's everything from hoisting to hovering and above a rooftop. I'll tell you probably a better idea of what the total cost of the deployment was. But if we look at it, we've really come a long way as a team, of which I'm very proud. And I think the learning doesn't stop. We have a debrief scheduled for next week, not only with ourselves, but with the United Nations and SADC Shock. So SADC Shock is it's a new component within SADC. It's a humanitarian coordination center for emergencies within this region, which is really good for us. And having that backing and having the countries behind us, knowing that they can knock on South Africa's door and we can be there within moments, is a really proud thing for me to be part of. With regards to the incident itself, or the disaster itself, it was, again, spending time with the South African Air Force. We worked very well with them. We are engaging with them probably in the next couple of weeks as well to sign an MOA where we can train more with them. We can even deploy with them if necessary. So not only is it from an NGO, MPO, we want to reach out to other organizations and private helicopter operators that were there and tie in with them, as not just the University of Johannesburg, but also as Rescue South Africa. We also want to offer them the opportunity to come to our facility and for them to train here. It was the reason we developed this amazing facility. This must become a center of excellence for rescue training in the SADC region. And we're very proud of what we've achieved here, and the experience that people have received thus far in the short period that it has been open. We've received very good feedback. I think on a daily basis, I've just received an email today from a French organization that wants to come train here. An organization in Germany and Austria have reached out to us. They want to come train here. So it's not just in South Africa, but certainly on a global platform. And then when I said thank you earlier, it's perhaps a selfish thing, but it does give us credibility. It gives me credibility, it gives Xavier credibility, it gives RB Senecal, who was with us in Idai in 2019, credibility. And that's important. I think when you're standing in front of a student and he goes, what does this guy know? You know, he's book smart. Let them see what we are capable of. So yeah, again, thank you very much for the opportunity both to Rescue South Africa and to my colleagues and Professor Lam and Prof. Mpedi and Prof. Tamani, but yeah, to Xavier.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Prof. Mpedi, Prof. Tamani, Prof. Lambert. Just to echo Connor's words, thank you again for the opportunity to deploy, to be able to assist on this mission. I'll keep it brief and not to kind of repeat what Connor was saying, but it's quite interesting that this came at a time not long after the launch of the University of Johannesburg Rescue Centre, where we have a facility to train for exactly what we were doing there. Now, here we developed a technical skill set that allows us to deliver these rescue capabilities, but what it also allows is for us to take the values of the UJ and what we teach our students out there. So we are caring for human life, we're looking after people. We're not just picking you up and dropping you off. We're making sure that you're being cared for, that you're fed, you have shelter, that your medical needs are taken care of. It's hard to describe the situation and the extent of the flooding in Mozambique. On the screen behind us, there are some images in the background, and they describe it as an inland sea, where for literally hundreds of kilometers, this area covered with water. So to understand the extent and the scale, because when you say there's hundreds of thousands of people that are displaced and adversely affected, it's actually quite hard to get your head around the extent of it. So I am very grateful that we were able to get out there and to bring what aid and what relief that we could, and to make the small impact that we could. And I would just like to, again, say thank you to VC and to Prof. Tamani for the support in the Rescue Centre and allowing us on this deployment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next part of our program, I see there may be some questions. I don't know if the media have any specific questions, and I'll gladly try to address them, or members of the panel.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you, colleagues, for your stories. We've got members of the media here. So what I'd like to do is to have them raise their hands. I don't know everyone who's here. And then we've got the panel here that is in here that you can pose questions to. As you stand, please can I request that you tell us who you are and which media house you're from, and then they should be able to answer questions. I'm not too sure if we've got another mic or we'll be using the same mic, and then we'll be able to then rotate it.
It's the only mic, so we can rotate.
You can rotate it, okay, no problem. Yeah. Or you can give it. Okay. As I indicated, please raise your hand. We'll identify you, and then you can raise that. I must say also that we will have an opportunity for one-on-one outside if there are any specific questions that you'd like to address either to the VC and the colleagues that are here. Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Kylie Kumala here from SABC. Great. So just to hear from the rescuers, on the ground, I mean, this is utterly devastating what's been happening in Mozambique for some time, but I just want to understand in terms of the pressing needs, in terms of the humanitarian aid, what's your observations there in terms of the very precarious situation, especially now where you do have warnings that more rains and torrential rains are still coming that side. What was your experience there? Thank you.
So perhaps to step back a bit, how it normally works when we deploy is we try and tie in with the local disaster management center. It was the IMGD is the, forgive me for knowing exactly what the IMGD stands for, but I think it's in Portuguese. So we will tie in with the coordinators. We then determine exactly what the needs are of the disaster itself. So normally in these disasters, our first thing that we want to do is save life. Where those people that are stuck in trees, that in rising waters, we want to access those people as quickly as possible. Ideally, that information that comes through is centrally coordinated, or centrally intelligence and information is centrally collected, and then we assist. Then it goes on, once that phase is ended, we go on to the humanitarian food delivery. When we left there, we had started that process. We would have stayed had the needs been there from the country, but they did have that under control. But we saw initially probably 8 helicopters. Now in flooding, helicopters are the most important thing you can have. And I'll give you an example. If something that takes 10 minutes to drive to can take you almost 3 days to get to in flooded areas. So your most valuable asset is your helicopter. So the limitation actually comes in. The food might be there, but the limitation is how do we get that food to those affected people. And a few of the aircraft needed their hours had run out and they needed to be serviced. But once they had been up and running, especially the large aircraft from the South African Air Force, they were able to send that food aid out. Directly linked to your question is, I'm still on the air coordination group in the country, following all of the coordination. The aircraft there are moving between 6 tons a day to 7 tons of food aid. We normally work off about 20 kilograms per person for 4 days of the type of food that we are delivering. And alluding to the hundreds of thousands of people that are affected, it is very difficult and a very important thing to coordinate. So had I been sitting on the other side of the fence in the IMGD, one of the things that I'd be requesting assistance of is helicopters, because it means that we can get that food to those displaced people much quicker. Even if the flood waters recede, the amount of damage to the infrastructure doesn't allow trucks and vehicles to pass along roads that were once used. So areas become islands. So it's very important if for them to have more helicopter capabilities.
Good afternoon. My name is Mpedi from UJFM News. This is a question directed to Professor Letlhokwa Mpedi. Professor, you always emphasize the university's role in societal impact and sustainability. So what does UJ's role in the involvement actually in the rescue mission say about the universities and the society in today's society?
Yeah, as I indicated earlier, when we launched this rescue center, somebody asked me from one of the media houses, will this facility stand here, what role will it play, you know? And I made a point that I made earlier, that we're seeing disasters, you know, due to global warming. This facility will definitely play an important role. And little did I know that we will have this disaster and our colleagues will be in Mozambique helping out. And I pray that we don't have many more disasters, but the truth of the matter is that with this global warming, there will be a need for more well-trained rescuers. I hope there will be more well-trained rescuers that will be able to go out there and help. And there will be more people like Rescue South Africa that will join hands with our colleagues and also our students and our graduates that can help people. And what I hope for is people will not politicize this and say, why are you not in this area and not that area? And people will accept that the resources will be distributed and be sent where they are needed, and not based on anything sinister. So this is what we are all about. And if I could stretch this beyond just what brought us together, I'll use one simple example that we never foresaw when we got involved in this project in Limpopo. We are involved in 3 villages in Venda, underserved villages called Kwakwani, Mpedi, and Matatani, where only one man worked and so on. We're involved in a school called Hanyani. Kids walked, from 4 a.m. to arrive at school at 8, together with the general's donor, we delivered bicycles and so on. It's another story for another day. But what happened linked to this disaster is that when we set up this learning center, we didn't know that this learning center will help during this disaster now. We set up a learning center connected to satellite internet. Even if you have data on your phone, you can't connect because there's no cell phone connectivity. But because of satellite internet, the rescuers now could connect at that school using satellite internet to be able to locate people who are in need of being rescued. So as a university, we say all these initiatives, they do come together and have that societal impact that we are talking about. So this encourages us to look for more people like these generous donors that I talked about, that helped us set up this satellite internet connectivity. This encourages us to look out for people like Rescue South Africa, because at the end of the day, it all comes together. I hope I've answered you. Long answer. So every sort of partnership, it comes together and then will help people. Thanks.
Thanks, Lucy. Please.
Hello, my name is Gwena Mashale. I'm from the Sowetan. I have a couple of questions. I'm not sure who they be directed to, but I hope you can answer them. So, I think it was Connor. You mentioned 6 members of the team were deployed. Did you think there was enough capacity for when you guys arrived in Mozambique? Did you have an idea of what you would be facing? The third question would be, there was a mention of in money invested into deployment. Can we just get a deliberation of how much exactly was that? As well as the fact that during the rescue, how long were you there for? Since when exactly were you deployed? And when did you come back? We just need the time span. And then what was the most difficult challenge, or did you find most challenging and dangerous during that experience as a team? Yeah. Oh, and the last question would be, was the team also assisting in the search and rescue of the recently found Goleni MC? Thank you.
Thanks, I hope you're going to remember all of them. That's why I wanted to get your pen.
I was about to ask for a pen, but perhaps if we can just look at the first, we'll go in order, but of those questions. The first question, so if you can just repeat that. The 6 people, right. So I think, thanks Prof. I think with regards to the size of a team, and again this is going back to experience that we've had, getting that small mission group into place as quickly as possible allows us to feed information back into country. We had already started preparing for deployment in Mpumalanga and Limpopo because of the flooding we'd experienced here. Aidan had tied in as Rescue South Africa with the National Disaster Management Centre. He offered our assistance locally. With that said, we don't want to become disaster backpackers. We don't want to just arrive there and look for work to do. So having a small team means that we can get in and we can get a very good idea of what's needed at that incident. We had boats, personnel and equipment on standby to be moved into country should it have been required. Remembering and going back to what I said earlier about the most important asset that you have in floods was not only people but the helicopters. If you only got 8 helicopters, and not all of them have capacity to have rescuers on them, you would have people sitting around for that time. So we were able to ensure that we had at least one person on those aircraft. Not only that, but we had tied in with their local navy, with the navy in Mozambique and the military, and one of our personnel was actually going to go onto one of the boats to assist with skippering the vessels. So to answer your question, yes, it's important that we don't just arrive. Remember, it's expensive to send people there unnecessarily. Looking at the disasters, the needs of the disaster, there were other teams. There was a team that came in from the United Kingdom. They only arrived there fully on Friday, and they were able then to take over some of the taskings that we were busy with, especially with the humanitarian food and aid drops. So again, it's get there quickly, intervene as quickly as possible, and position ourselves where we can make the biggest impact at the right place at the right time.
When did you arrive?
So we arrived in country after there was requests, and then there was less rain, and then there was more rain. We arrived in country last week Wednesday, and then we demobilized on Sunday. I think you want to talk to the costs. Yeah, I know there was a question there.
So in terms of the financial impact, as Connor mentioned, is all of these things cost money. And the approach that Rescue South Africa has taken, we're always going to send in a team in advance to scout the situation. And if you need reinforcements, we would then send in those teams. So we don't want to spend donors' money where it's not needed. As Connor mentioned, it doesn't help that we send in massive teams, but they sit idle because they don't have the aircraft to fly. You're then not efficient enough, and you're not making the impact that you should be making. So from a cost perspective, it's tens of thousands of rands instead of hundreds of thousands of rands, and that was sponsored by UN OCHA. So the UN backed us through the emergency grant fund. We were in discussions with World Food Programme, which they unfortunately couldn't mobilize things as fast as what was required, where the UN had the ability and the means to do that.
Did the rescue team search for PPE? You guys are part of that?
So yeah, we have been in contact with the South African Air Force, who were part of that. He was found yesterday, if I remember. I think his vehicles was discovered the day before, but the Navy divers from Mozambique recovered the 4 occupants yesterday. So at this stage, no, we weren't part of it. It was part of our mission group, but it happened quite far north of where we were. But certainly, if we needed to get there, we would have assisted. But remembering this is going to sound not good, but it's a recovery versus a rescue, and we have to prioritize and triage what's needed at that time to make the biggest impact.
Is it okay if you can just repeat the stats that you mentioned for 400 people?
So yeah, we moved approximately 450 people, of which 57 of those were patients, and it's a mix of those that were a mass evacuation where we may land on a roof and load 30 people, to hoists, to even landing with one half of the skid of the helicopter on a roof and bringing people inside. So some highly skilled pilots we have in our country, I can tell you that.
Any follow-ups?
Thank you so much once again. It's Kylie here from SABC. Prof. Mpedi, what could be the role that universities like UJ can play in terms of making sure that climate change is not really far, but the implications are right here. It is an existential crisis and having very far-reaching impact in so many parts of the world. Just your brief remarks on that score. Thank you.
Universities. Thank you very much. Universities have an important role to play. We've got bright people, we've got researchers. Through research, we can publicize, our findings. in different ways, you know, in ways that are accessible to ordinary people, in practical ways, but also in scholarly ways, you know, that we can share with the world. I mean, we've got a team that is doing research at the cradle, you know, of mankind, that are looking at what our forefathers, you know, were eating then, and through that they can study how the